Okay, let's unpack this. Imagine, just for a second, you're caught in a real-life spy thriller
Hmm.
where basically every part of your life, I mean, your neighbors, your furniture, everything is supposedly part of some huge secret network.
Right, a hidden web.
Exactly. So today we're doing a deep dive into this, well, extraordinary collection of documents. They lay out one person's fight against what he says is a global system of espionage and manipulation.
And it's incredibly detailed.
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah.
We're talking a meticulously detailed dossier, alleged operatives, really sophisticated surveillance tech,
Right.
and this intense personal legal battle where it's not just about freedom, but, the right to even tell your story.
Yeah, the stakes seem incredibly high.
They really do. And our sources for this, they come straight from the heart of it all. We've got this individual's personal intelligence database he's built, his detailed legal filings, even his own kind of real-time thoughts from inside the courtroom.
So firsthand accounts, essentially.
Pretty much. Our mission today, to really explore these claims, try to understand the intricate details of this alleged unseen war, and see how a fight for personal liberty might just expose a world that's, well, way more complex than maybe we imagine.
It poses a fascinating question.
Right. What happens when your own life becomes the battleground for an information war? Okay, so let's start with something familiar, or something we think is familiar, the PayPal mafia.
Right, the term most people know from tech history.
Exactly. You think successful founders, early 2000s, Elon Musk, Peter Thiel, innovation, maybe disruption.
That whole Silicon Valley narrative.
Precisely. But the author of our main source today, Reynaldo J. Aguirre Marcano, he just throws a massive curveball.
He completely redefines it.
Totally. He alleges this isn't just some group of tech wizards. He claims it's actually a global criminal network.
A criminal network. That's a huge leap.
It is. And he says it's expanded way beyond tech. We're talking world leaders, government officials, celebrities even.
So not just the original PayPal folks anymore.
No, he claims it originated back then, early 2000s, with some of those key figures like Musk and Thiel, but it's morphed into something else, something he calls the Union, coordinating, vast illegal operations, surveillance, money laundering.
Wow. Okay, so taking that familiar term, PayPal Mafia,
Yeah.
and twisting it like that, it immediately challenges how you see things, right? The popular story is all about, American ingenuity, tech success stories.
The legends.
Yeah, the legends. But his claim paints this picture of maybe using that success, that legitimacy, as a kind of smokescreen.
A cover for global crime.
Potentially.
Yeah.
He alleges things like drug trafficking, global surveillance, illicit finance, even meddling in elections.
That's a massive scope.
It really is. And
Yep.
I mean, if even a tiny part of that is accurate, it just shakes your fundamental beliefs about power, doesn't it?
Absolutely.
About who holds it, how these, celebrated, legitimate-seeming groups might actually operate behind the scenes.
It really forces you to ask, what does it mean for one person to try and confront something allegedly that huge?
And how deeply could something like that be embedded in society without anyone noticing?
That's the scary part.
Yeah.
What else could be hiding in plain sight, Pretending to be something totally normal.
Mm.
So with that kind of broad allegation on the table, his document, A Cartography of Crime, the Spyhell pipeline dossier, then gets incredibly specific. It details this huge cast of characters allegedly involved, from people right in his personal life to high-ranking global figures. He really maps it out.
Cartography of crime, as he calls it.
Yeah. So he breaks down the operatives into different types. First, there's the deep cover infiltration.
Uh-huh.
He names one person, Albinus Hernandez, calls him a deep cover operative and a connector.
A connector?
Yeah, someone allegedly present throughout his entire adult life, just popping up in different places, different contexts.
Wow, that's long-term.
Very. Then he talks about ghost roommates.
Ghost roommates?
Yeah.
What does that mean?
People who seem like ordinary housemates. Right. But in his telling, they're actually part of the network. He names Julio Alvarez and Victoria Fabiano in New York City, and a Roberto Herrera, who he says also introduced him to other key operatives.
So people inside his most trusted circle.
Exactly. People you'd normally trust completely, your intimate sphere. But he's claiming their network assets.
That's deeply unsettling.
And it's not just roommates. He mentions Ibeth Escobar, a college girlfriend, allegedly reactivated years later by Venezuelan intelligence for specific ops.
Reactivated. So they plant people and
Yeah.
just wait.
That's the implication. It points to this incredibly long game planning if it's true.
Yeah, that kind of alleged infiltration strategy. I mean, it goes from the really personal, like friends, roommates, even romantic partners, all the way up to high-level corporate jobs, government positions. It suggests, well, an unbelievable amount of planning and patience.
Decades, potentially.
Right. And an ability to compromise all these different sectors at once. Plus, exploiting personal trust using psychological tactics. He mentions a familiar names pattern.
Yeah, where agents use similar names to build false trust.
So it implies a network that's not just reacting, but actively building these complex, multi-layered operations over years, maybe decades.
Systematically breaking down trust.
At every level of someone's life. It's not just, hackers somewhere far away. It's intimate betrayal, potentially orchestrated over a long time.
Which would completely mess with your sense of reality, your safety.
Absolutely. It erodes everything.
And it doesn't stop at the personal level. He claims much higher echelons of power are involved. The dossier names Diosdado Cabello and Vladimir Padrino Lopez from Venezuela, high-ranking political military figures, calls them key network leaders.
Okay, so international political figures.
Yes. And then domestically, someone like Phil Denning, the author's own neighbor, his HOA president.
His neighbor.
Yeah. Alleged to be a key on-the-ground coordinator for harassment, even, he claims, assassination plots.
An HOA president involved in assassination plots. That's quite a claim.
It is. And then there's Jim Donovan, high-level guy at Goldman Sachs, allegedly a power broker connecting the firm to Washington politics for the network.
Goldman Sachs.
Yeah.
So finance, politics, local level, it's everywhere, according to this.
That's the picture he paints. And within the PayPal mafia itself, he points fingers directly. Elon Musk is called the technical ringleader. He even names his captured geo-index after him.
The geo-index.
Yeah.
We'll probably need to unpack that later.
Definitely. And Pierre Omidyar, eBay founder, named as a primary antagonist, supposedly behind attacks on the author's early websites.
So specific accusations against very well-known people.
Very specific. The dossier is packed. Madhav Chanapa, former Google News director, allegedly built backdoors for manipulation. Emil Michael from Travis Kalanick's Uber Circle, supposedly involved in developing that Hello app.
The scope is just staggering. And then he gets into alleged intelligence assets, even medical ones.
Yeah, this part's particularly disturbing. He claims Marcos Castillo and Daniel Parra are agents for SEBIN.
SEBIN. That's the Venezuelan intelligence service, right? Servicio Bolivariano de Inteligencia Nacional.
Correct. He says they were involved in an IRS ruse against him. Then there's Veda Ha, identified as a Chinese intelligence officer, a beat cover agent who allegedly infiltrated tech companies like Google, Databricks.
So multiple foreign intelligence agencies allegedly involved.
According to him, yes. And maybe the most chilling part, the alleged medical assets. He names doctors Dr. Emlyn Tao, Dr. Tang Ho, Dr. Matthew James Isom, Dr. Alvin Cantero Mena calls them network medical assets, part of a medical torture cluster.
A medical torture cluster. That implies weaponizing healthcare itself.
That's the implication. Using systems meant for healing, for surveillance, or worse, actual harm.
If that were true, it would just shatter public trust in some really fundamental institutions.
Completely. It makes you second-guess everything, doesn't it? The trust we put in doctors and neighbors.
Every interaction.
And then there are the outright physical threats he alleges. David Malero, also known as Daniel King Everett, or the clone, as the author calls him.
Clone.
Yeah. Named as a high-level operative, supposedly implicated by an informant in multiple assassination plots.
Multiple plots?
That's the claim. And one of the most shocking. Officer Gloria, he gives a badge number, 4137, Fort Bend Sheriff's Office deputy, accused of a direct assassination attempt using a poisoned pen.
A poisoned pen, like something out of a spy movie.
Exactly. So these aren't just claims about being watched or manipulated. These are specific, serious allegations of violence and direct physical danger.
Okay. So we've got the alleged players, from roommates to global figures, spies, doctors. Now, how does he claim this network actually operates? The tactics, the tech?
Right. And the infrastructure he describes is, well, it's mind-bogglingly complex. At the heart of his counteroffensive is his own system, the Spyhell pipeline. It's his complex distributed computing setup to analyze all this network data.
Okay.
And he claims he built it based on something he captured, what he calls Elon Musk's geo-index.
Right. You mentioned that. What is this alleged geo-index?
He describes it as an unencrypted digital map with data and metadata overlaid. Basically, a secret map used by the alleged PayPal mafia's Hidden Hell app.
Unencrypted. That seems careless for a sophisticated network.
He claims they relied just on security by obscurity. Hid it as obscure research data on a French server.
Security by obscurity. Like hiding the key under the mat instead of using a real lock?
Exactly. Weakest link. He says he found it, exploited it, captured the index.
And if you connect that to the bigger picture, this mix of, like, advanced digital spying, normal everyday objects being weaponized, and humans infiltrating everywhere, it creates this terrifyingly pervasive system of alleged control.
It does. And his claims about international intelligence links, Venezuelan Sebin, Iranian Moy.
Moy's being Iran's Ministry of Intelligence and Security.
Right. Plus Russian figures like Pavel Shatilov, a former Google colleague he names, and that Chinese Salt Typhoon hacking group. It adds this huge layer of global complexity.
Yeah, the idea of weaponizing familiar tech, your home environment. It would just destroy your sense of safety in this connected world.
Totally. Now, that Hell app itself, the concept is chilling.
What does he say it does?
He calls it an illegal espionage app, supposedly developed by Uber founder Travis Kalanick around 2011. And he claims it evolved into a shared economy platform, but for gamified espionage.
Gamified espionage. What does that even mean? Like Uber for spies?
Sort of. Like a clandestine gig economy. Agents get tasks, maybe through a hidden app interface, earn points or rewards, maybe money, for reporting surveillance or doing specific actions. Ground, sea, air ops, he claims.
So coordinating potentially millions of unregistered agents globally.
That's the allegation. He also claims it ran on a parallel, untraceable internet made of fixed and mobile nodes, a whole separate communication system.
Wow. Okay. And then there was Dockerhood, inspired by computer science.
Yeah, you know Docker software, packages application.
Right, containers.
So he applies that to physical space. Claims Dockerhood is the network's practice of creating pre-packaged, templated neighborhood designs, like blueprints.
Blueprints for neighborhoods.
Yeah, with specific roles for operatives, infrastructure layouts, all pre-planned so they can rapidly deploy these surveillance clusters anywhere, repeatedly, like dropping a pre-made spy set into a suburb.
Your neighborhood as a surveillance template, that's disturbing.
It is. And the alleged communication methods are just as insidious. He talks about Google Street View photos as metadata.
Okay, how would that work?
He claims specific objects placed in Street View images, his example is, 2 garbage cans and a cat, arranged a certain way, are read by the Hell app's machine learning.
Read by the app.
Yeah, to convey operational instructions to agents on the ground. So basically repurposing Google's public Street View platform.
As a free, secure, deniable database for secret messages.
Exactly. Using public data for real-time covert ops.
That's incredibly clever, if true, and deeply unnerving. It shows how existing systems could be subverted.
Absolutely. And it continues with alleged digital triggers and compromised hardware. The idea that your own tech is working against you, like the Google Fi trigger. He claims when his phone connects to Google Fi, it sends real-time alerts to dispatch physical surveillance teams.
A compromise that deep into the telecom infrastructure.
That's what he alleges. And hardware, too. Companies like Digital Watchdog, they make security cameras, Gigabyte, NVIDIA, TP-Link, Asus. He thinks their components are compromised for the network.
Component-level compromise. That's incredibly hard to detect.
Right. And it even extends to mundane things. His Hesson's mattress, his Herman Miller chair, his uplift desk and bed. He claims they were compromised.
Compromised how?
Used as torture devices, part of what he calls the weaponization of the botter, suggesting control even over his immediate physical environment, using everyday objects.
Okay, that's a lot. Beyond the tech, what about the human operations? Tactics?
Oh yeah, the dossier details specific operations, honey traps and ruses. He mentions that 2002 operation by UD Murillo, allegedly posing as a fellow refugee in Canada to gain his trust.
Classic spycraft, the honey trap.
Right, and other ruses. An interview ruse with someone named Alfredo Ortega to get info, that IRS ruse with the compromised CPA Marcos Castillo, Daniel Parra, even a Canada Revenue Agency ruse.
So impersonating officials using professional settings.
Seems like it. Also partnership takeover, Ruses, he names Jose Alberto Inciarte, Hidalgo Martinez, and a nav boost heist at Google involving people like Jillian Walsh, Julio Alvarez, Leon Lin. He calls it the nav boost of crime, like a twist on Google's algorithm.
So corporate infiltration, financial manipulation too.
And direct physical threats. He details an alleged plot to sabotage his breaks involving Penelope Suarez, Carlos Suarez, Francisco Castillo.
Sabotage breaks, that's attempted murder.
And the alleged poison pens incident with Officer Gloria. Plus, he mentions an alleged kidnapping attempt at a Clear Channel outdoor facility.
So the tactics range from subtle manipulation and corporate espionage to, well, potentially lethal violence.
It suggests a network with allegedly huge resources and zero qualms about the methods used.
A very diverse, very dangerous toolkit.
And to help make sense of this huge structure, he introduces concepts for mapping it, like equity ledger markers.
What are those?
He claims certain street names actually represent equity stakes held by prominent network members. A public ledger hidden in plain sight, only insiders can read it.
Street names as stock certificates.
Essentially. And prominence markers, using words like king or 777 in names, or even specific gift wrap on books to subtly signal rank or importance within the hierarchy.
Using semantics and symbols for internal signaling.
Yeah. And he also describes an architectural pattern, the immune geoentities pattern.
Immune how?
He claims it's an urban planning technique to protect network locations from eavesdropping, surrounding them with open areas, putting them on short, dead-end streets to make physical surveillance really hard.
Designing the physical environment for operational security.
It's this whole intricate world he describes, a mesh grid for secure communication, where even your location is part of the encryption key. It suggests this incredible level of planning across physical, digital, and human domains. Okay, so let's shift from that shadowy world of alleged global espionage,
Which is already a lot to take in.
to the very public stage of a courtroom, because the author is also fighting a major legal battle.
Right, the family court case.
Exactly. Case number 25, DCV 328122, Gloria Spina versus Reynaldo J. Aguar Marcano. The petitioner, Gloria Spina, she sought a court-ordered psychiatric evaluation of the author.
Okay, a common enough move in contentious family law, sometimes. But context is key.
And the author's context, his assertion, is that this wasn't about genuine concern for his mental health at all. He calls it a transparent assault on the First Amendment, brought in bad faith for an improper purpose, basically an attempt to discredit him and shut him up.
Legally, that's a serious accusation. For a court to order a mental exam, especially in Texas, under Rule 204.1, you need good cause, and the condition has to be in controversy.
Explain good cause.
It means you need specific facts, not just allegations, showing the exam is justified. And in controversy means the mental state itself has to be a core issue in the dispute.
Yeah.
So if there's an admission or even strong evidence that the motion is really just a litigation weapon to force a settlement, well, that completely undermines the good cause requirement.
It becomes an abuse of the process.
Potentially, yes.
Yeah.
Because a motion filed for an improper purpose can't meet that legal standard. It's essentially weaponizing a procedure meant for legitimate inquiry.
Right, and this is where the author presents something really striking. He has a verbatim exchange, he says, from a recorded conversation with the petitioner after a mediation session.
Okay.
He asks her basically, what you're saying is that if we had reached an agreement there wouldn't have been any need for me to undergo a psychiatric evaluation.
And her response.
According to his transcript.
Correct. That's quite direct.
It is. He argues it's a direct admission supporting his claim of bad faith, that the evaluation was just a bargaining chip to pressure a coerced settlement, not a real concern.
It certainly makes the evaluation sound negotiable rather than medically or legally necessary based on genuine concern.
And adding fuel to his censorship claims, there was this qualified protective order the petitioner proposed.
What did it propose?
It sought to ban him from using or disclosing anything from the evaluation for any purpose other than this litigation, and it demanded everything be destroyed afterward.
Trying to contain the information completely.
Exactly. He saw it as a blatant attempt to control his narrative, stop him using anything from it, even if it helped his case, outside that specific courtroom.
This ties into the concept of prior restraint, which is a major First Amendment issue.
Define that for us.
Prior restraint is basically censorship before speech happens. It's considered the most serious infringement on free speech rights.
So stopping speech before it starts.
Precisely. And the author argued this proposed order was exactly that, a direct attempt to censor his upcoming book, The Spyhell Pipeline Dossier, the one registered with the Library of Congress.
Yeah, LCCNs 979-8999-684707 and 979-8999-684714. He argued this order was aimed squarely at preventing its publication.
Courts are usually extremely wary of prior restraints. There's a heavy presumption against their constitutionality. They're rarely allowed because they shut down speech proactively.
So this whole situation raises some critical questions for the listener.
Definitely. How can a legal system, which is supposed to protect rights, allegedly be used as a tool for censorship, for harassment?
And what does it mean for free speech if mental health evaluations can just become a weapon to silence someone and stop them publishing their research?
That's a deeply concerning possibility.
Now, the courtroom itself, according to the author, became this arena for what he felt was unequal justice, or maybe a strategic game unfolding. He describes this pivotal moment right before his own hearing, same day, same judge, Judge Oster Telfair III. He says he witnessed the judge immediately and vigorously grill another lawyer who admitted filing a motion just to coerce a settlement.
The exact thing the author was alleging in his own case.
Exactly. And the judge apparently forced that lawyer to withdraw the motion, saying it was to save the court's resources.
So a very clear precedent set just moments before his case.
Right. So armed with this, the author, Reynaldo J. Aguiar Marcano, gets up for his opening statement, and he directly invokes that precedent, says his petitioner made exactly the same admission, points to his certified transcript as proof, and argues that treating him differently would be fundamentally unfair, suggests the law is applied differently depending on who is the individual. He explicitly asks for the same treatment the gentleman this morning got.
He put the judge on the spot, essentially.
Completely. And the judge's reaction, as the author tells it, was intense. He says the judge took an offensive stance, leaned forward, and just flatly said, "I did not say that."
Denied the precedent had happened.
Effectively shut down the whole argument. Refused to let the admission transcript into the record, despite the author trying multiple times.
Wow. So a direct contradiction of what the author claims he witnessed minutes earlier.
That's his account.
Yeah.
A clear block on his attempt to get consistent treatment based on that precedent.
That must have been incredibly frustrating.
You'd think.
Law.
But here's the twist. The author actually saw this as a strategic win.
A win? How?
He felt it created crystal clear grounds for an appeal. It documented, in his view, completely opposite treatment for the exact same issue in the same court by the same judge on the same day.
Ah, so even though he lost that immediate point, he felt it strengthened his long-term case by highlighting alleged judicial inconsistency.
Precisely. It's a vivid snapshot of the courtroom tension, the procedural maneuvering, and it really highlights the challenge of navigating a system you think might be compromised or biased against you.
How even a setback can be framed as a strategic advantage for the future.
Yeah. Then came this moment the author calls an inadvertent revelation. Completely unexpected.
Okay, what happened?
The petitioner's lawyer, Morgan Hibner, was cross-examining him, trying to discredit him, right? She brought up his website posts about seeking POW status.
Prisoner of war status, okay.
And she pressed him on the stand, asking, well, what makes you think that you could ask for asylum? The implication being, that's crazy, unfounded.
Trying to paint him as delusional.
Exactly. But then came the revelation. Under oath, on the stand, the author states, I already asked for asylum against the Venezuelan government before, and it was granted to me by the Canadian government.
Granted by Canada.
Yes, he continues, I'm a protected person according to the Geneva Convention, and affirms he has all the documentation to prove it.
Okay, hold on. Protected person status under the Geneva Convention. That is not a small thing.
Tell us more about that. What does it signify?
It's a formal international legal status.
Yeah.
It's not granted lightly at all. It requires proving a well-founded fear of persecution. In his case, political persecution by the Venezuelan government.
And he has a case number.
Yes. He mentioned Immigration and Refugee Board of Canada, the IRB, case MA 39176, from around 2004. It stems from his role in the Venezuelan national oil strike back in 2002-2003 when he worked for PDVSA. He was publicly fired, targeted in newspapers like Diario La Verdad.
So this status is official recognition of that threat.
Absolutely. It requires a heavy burden of proof, a tribunal process, and crucially, it directly refutes any attempt to just dismiss his fears about the Venezuelan government as delusional. It legitimizes that specific fear.
And he even added that harming a protected person under the Geneva Convention is considered a war crime.
Which adds another layer of international legal weight to his claims about being targeted.
What was the impact in the courtroom when he revealed this?
He described a visible reaction, an exchange between the judge and Morgan Hibner, the lawyer who asked the question. And the judge immediately shut it down. Hey, let's move on. Let's change the subject. Next exhibit.
Wow. So the opposing lawyer, trying to discredit him, accidentally gave him a platform to reveal internationally recognized proof validating a core part of his narrative.
Exactly. It's a powerful moment. An involuntary confirmation, undermining their own strategy, and validating his past and present fears about the Venezuelan government, the very entity he claims is part of this network.
What a twist when your opponent accidentally hands you evidence for your most extraordinary claims. Okay, so this leads to a really interesting piece of analysis from the author, Ronaldo Aguirre Marcano. He theorizes about why the petitioner's lawyer, Morgan Hibner, questioned him about certain specific exhibits, especially after the judge blocked his transcript admission.
Okay, what's his theory?
He believes those exhibits weren't random, they were cherry-picked. Why? To reveal who the alleged network was most worried about being exposed, the people or places with high liability.
Like their questions inadvertently signaled their own weak points or biggest concerns.
Exactly, like a reverse tell in poker. Their attempt to attack him actually showed their hand, revealing the assets they most feared getting into trouble or being publicly linked.
That's quite an interpretive leap, but it fits his framework.
Yeah.
If you look at it through an intelligence lens, identifying what your opponent tries hardest to protect or discredit can be very revealing.
Right, and connecting this to the broader picture, these specific exposure concerns could offer clues about the alleged network's structure, its priorities, maybe its vulnerabilities.
And the fact that many of these are concentrated geographically, Katie, Texas, Lake Point estates, but linked to international intelligence claims, it paints that picture of localized ops with global ties.
Protecting key assets, maybe inadvertently revealing them in the process.
Could also be a quid pro quo, right? The network defends certain assets because exposing them would unravel more, or simply in exchange for their continued cooperation.
Makes sense. So let's look at his list of feared agent entities based on that courtroom questioning. Who's on it?
Okay.
First, Robert Mueller III, former FBI director.
Mueller. Wow, okay. Why him?
The author notes Mueller's house is just 200 feet away from his own in Lake Point Estates. He claims there's a secret gate connecting Mueller's property to a neighbor's, the Eckharts, used for moving surveillance vehicles.
A secret gate.
That's the claim. He implies someone with Mueller's background, former head of the FBI, connections to the CIA, as he suggests, would be capable of orchestrating such a network. He calls Mueller's house a high-level asset for harassment ops, even alleging it was involved in the kidnapping of his son.
So the fact that Mueller's name came up in questioning suggests to the author that he's a sensitive point for the network.
That's his interpretation. Next on the list, Phil Denning, the HOA president.
The neighbor accused of coordinating harassment.
Right, and significantly, the petitioner's counsel had the petitioner actually vouch for Denning in court, calling him a respectable man, despite the author's serious accusations.
Defending his reputation in court.
The author sees it as a sign of concern, especially given his claims about Denning orchestrating bureaucratic harassment via the allegedly compromised property management company Post Oak.
Okay, who else?
Then there's the reference to the Chinese man from the house in front. This relates to a trespassing incident at 26711 Valleyside Drive.
And he connects this
directly to the Salt Typhoon hacking group, which is widely reported as being linked to the Chinese government.
So alleging direct Chinese state involvement right there in his neighborhood.
Yes. And he adds his observation of 2 Chinese houses on Britton Ridge Drive, saying half of the people are Chinese on that side, implying significant foreign intelligence presence funding or directing things. He links this back to Vida Ha, the alleged Chinese agent in his dossier.
Highlighting the perceived international angle of the local surveillance.
Men, the pretties. Neighbors at 26718 Valleyside Drive, also brought up accused by the author of overt acts of hostility and surveillance.
So specific neighbors again.
And the law firm suing him over HOA violations, Roberts Markle, they were mentioned too. He sees them as siding with the harassers, part of the network's legal pressure campaign.
Weaponizing the legal system as he sees it.
Finally, Daniel King Everett, a.k.a. David Malero, the clone, the operative linked to a safe house near the author's home.
Why is he high liability?
Potential disclosures, especially regarding his alleged ties to people close to the author and his alleged role in assassination plots. The author believes mentioning him signals deep concern about what he might reveal.
So if you accept the author's premise, this line of questioning wasn't just random poking, but a targeted, albeit clumsy, attempt to defend or perhaps gauge the author's knowledge about these specific sensitive assets.
That's the argument. A fascinating glimpse into the potential vulnerabilities of a clandestine operation revealed under legal pressure. Okay, let's shift focus slightly to the author's own situation. His finances, his motivations, these also came up in court.
Right, trying to understand his personal context.
Under oath, he stated he's currently unemployed, living off my savings.
Where did the savings come from?
He said he liquidated Google stock he acquired before 2014, specifically noting it was before his marriage, so denying it was community property.
Okay, how much are we talking?
He reported around $800,000 in a bank account, but immediately noted he had around $300,000 in taxes still to pay on that. He also stressed his finances were complex, needing a forensic accountant, and that he had no current income.
So he's self-funding this whole counteroffensive from past assets.
Seems like it. And this financial picture is key to understanding his perspective, right?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
It frames his actions not as, maybe irrational spending fueled by paranoia, but as a deliberate, self-funded counteroffensive.
A conscious strategy.
Yes, aligning with his frameworks like identify, evoke, expose, i.e., he's using his own capital, as he put it, spending my own money to help the authorities get them faster. It positions his efforts as this kind of asymmetric warfare, his personal resources against a vast organization.
Right. And the opposing counsel, Morgan Hibner, definitely tried to challenge this. She grilled him about what she called excessive amounts of money recently.
Like what?
Specifically, around $24,000 spent mailing 6,000 gift-wrapped books.
Well, gift-wrapped books. Why gift-wrapped?
Well, that's what she highlighted, $3 to $4 per book just for gift wrap. Plus maybe $20,000 translating his 5 books into 28 languages.
So she's painting this as huge, potentially irrational spending. Trying to support the psych evil request, maybe?
Yeah.
Undermine his credibility?
That seems to be the angle, but the author had a ready explanation, a strategic one.
Okay.
He clarifies the gift wrap isn't just decorative, it serves as a prominence marker.
A what?
A prominence marker. A subtle signal, he claims, to authorities that the people receiving these gift-wrapped books are prominent agents in the network. It flags them, basically.
So the gift wrap itself is coded information.
That's his claim. He says he's creating a public record, a trail for authorities, by doing this, spending his money to help the authorities get them faster. And he insists these are company expenses, not personal ones.
Oh, wow. Using something as mundane as gift wrap as a counterintelligence tool. That's fascinating.
Isn't it? It really makes you think differently about how information could be hidden or signaled in plain sight, a clear example of his framework in action. All right, so we've seen the alleged network, the legal fight. The big question is, how does someone actually fight back against something described as so pervasive?
What are the tools of resistance?
Well, the author hasn't just documented, he's actively built his own counteroffensive tools. He's fighting what he calls an unseen war. Central to his physical defense and intel gathering is his vehicle, the KOL Mobile.
The KOL Mobile?
Yeah. He describes it as an armored Suburban, bulletproof, sirens, lights, the works, plus 360-degree 4K cameras and other sensors.
So mobile command center and protection unit.
Basically, yeah. His mobile intelligence gathering platform and primary means of physical protection against the threats he perceives.
You know, what's interesting is the contrast he sets up. He describes the alleged network often throwing money at the problem. Hardware, infrastructure, infiltration. Whereas he positions himself as throwing ideas at the problem, developing software countermeasures, innovative strategies. It really highlights that asymmetric warfare dynamic. Ingenuity versus vast resources.
That's a great point. His tools really reflect that individual effort against a massive alleged system.
Like his software solutions.
Exactly. He developed the KOL vaccine between 2020 and 2022. What's that for?
Countering click-through rate CTR attacks.
CTR attacks. How do those work?
He claims the network uses them to bury his websites and search results, basically generating fake traffic, unusual click patterns, making the content look like spam or low quality to search engines so it gets pushed down.
Online censorship via algorithm manipulation.
That's the idea. So the KOL vaccine, which later evolved into the Spyhell pipeline system itself, is designed to neutralize that. his digital defense against their alleged digital warfare.
And he doesn't trust standard secure communication tools either.
No, he mentioned suspicions about platforms like Proton Mail, Proton VPN, OpenVPN thinks they have vulnerabilities the network exploits.
So what's the solution?
He developed something called radio frequency eavesdropping avoidance systems, RFES.
Yeah, it's software-based. Uses external sensors like cameras and mics to detect approaching vehicles or aircraft that might be conducting surveillance.
Yeah.
It automatically shuts down his network connections, prevents radio signals from being intercepted during those potential eavesdropping moments.
Wow. Proactive automated defense against signal interception.
The sheer existence of these countermeasures, the armored car, the custom software, it just shows the extreme lengths someone might go to protect themselves against a threat they perceive as omnipresent, covering both physical and digital space.
It's a fortress mentality, born out of perceived necessity.
And then there's the book itself. The Spyhell pipeline dossier, he sees it as more than just a record. It's a weapon and a shield.
Registered with the Library of Congress, you said.
Yep. Multiple LCCNs. And its table of contents, which is public, details all these alleged glitches, deceits, decoding lawfare tactics. It's his comprehensive narrative of the network and his counteroffensive, aimed at exposing it all.
And the fact that the petitioner tried to get that protective order to stop him publishing.
Exactly. It underscores how threatening the book itself is perceived to be, according to the author.
So the book becomes a deliberate act of exposure, central to his circle of transparency idea, bringing the alleged secrets into the light.
Publication as counterattack.
It really makes you think, how can a book become such a focal point, such a weapon, in a conflict involving legal battles, alleged spying, personal safety?
It speaks volumes about the power of information, doesn't it?
It does. Which brings us to the ultimate stakes here. It's not just about global conspiracies, it's deeply personal. Child welfare.
Right. The petitioner, Gloria Espina, made arguments against his parenting in court, citing his perception of reality, alleging negligence.
What kind of examples did she give?
Allegations of erratic driving because he thought he was being followed, taking photos of license plates at the daycare, impeding medical care, refusing an ER visit for a cough he believed was implanted by the network, banning water bottles in the house out of paranoia about poisoning.
Okay, those are serious allegations, painting his behavior as potentially harmful to the child due to his beliefs.
Clearly intended to do that. But the author pushes back hard. He insists the welfare of the child is paramount.
Who does he counter?
He points to the petitioner's own actions, like allegedly secreting the child for 50 days without his consent, arguing that shows a lack of concern for the child's best interests. He also denies driving erratically with the child, saying safety is his priority and he rarely drives with him anyway.
So deeply personal, highly charged accusations flying both ways in a custody battle.
But here's the thing. This already tense family dispute gets amplified massively when you connect it back to his overarching claims.
The international network.
Exactly. Alleged involvement of Venezuelan intelligence, Sebin naming Cabello, Padrino Lopez, Hurtado, Iranian intelligence, Oiz naming Yvonne Sheriff, Russian intelligence, Pavel Shatulov, Chinese intelligence, Vita Ha, Salt Typhoon.
Plus figures like Miller, Musk, Kalanick.
It elevates this personal conflict into something with potential national, even international security implications. A family court case becomes a microcosm of alleged global geopolitical struggles.
Yeah, this whole deep dive just reveals how one person's intensely personal battle, framed by these extraordinary claims of global conspiracy, intersects with huge questions: truth, mental health, justice, security.
What does it even mean for an individual when their private life gets tangled up in alleged geopolitical conflicts on this kind of massive, shadowy scale? Hashtag outro. So where does this leave us?
What we've really dug into today, it's way more than just a legal case, isn't it?
Yeah, absolutely.
It's this meticulously documented story. One individual's fight against what he truly believes is a powerful, secret global network. We've heard about everything from ghost roommates to, well, torture chairs. From the complex Spyhell pipeline system he built to that dramatic courtroom moment revealing his protected person status.
Yeah, that was striking.
It paints this picture of a world where potentially every detail is a clue, every interaction could be a trap.
The layers of alleged deception, the advanced tech supposedly involved.
And the incredibly high-stakes personal freedom, family. It's vivid and, frankly, pretty unsettling.
It is.
This deep dive really shows the extraordinary lengths one person might go to resist, to expose what they believe is hidden, and to protect themselves and their family.
And it raises some really important questions for all of us, doesn't it? You know, in this age, we live in information overload, constant digital surveillance, these complex global conflicts. How do we, as citizens, as a society, critically evaluate claims like these? Claims that really push the boundaries of what we think is possible.
That's the core challenge.
Especially when the very systems meant to provide justice and protection are courts. Even things like mental health evaluations are alleged to be weaponized. Where does someone even turn then?
And maybe the most provocative thought: if even a small fraction of these documented claims turned out to be true, what would that mean for our collective sense of security, our privacy, the very nature of truth in this digital age?
Yeah, leaves you with a lot to think about. Here's something maybe for you, the listener, to mull over on your own. Just consider the implications. A world where public infrastructure like Google Street View and everyday things like gift route could actually be repurposed as tools for some secret global intelligence operation. What kind of critical lens do we need to bring to the information we consume every day to feel like we're truly well-informed in a landscape that might be this complex, this opaque?